All film channels are the same, you say. Well, you haven't seen me yet. Hello, welcome to the Film Geek Collective. Today I'm going to show you 9 cool ways to watch things in quarantine. You know, get inventive. Really just get into it. Make it as fun as you can and you are going to have a good time, I promise. And I'm going to show you how. Alright, let's go. Number 1, customize your previews. If you want to make it period accurate or something like that, like 1984, The Terminator, some people call that a horror film. Maybe put a preview for Nightmare on Elm Street beforehand, or maybe put The Karate Kid, or whatever you want. They often put unrelated films in terms of previews, and the previews were a hell of a lot better then anyway. So yeah, not to be too nostalgic with you, you know, I love retro personally, but let's get to the point here. If you don't want to be period accurate, you know, if you just want to go thematically, you could put RoboCop next to, well, just before the Terminator. I believe it even uses the Terminator music. Funnily enough, Orion couldn't really think of anything else at the time. So yeah, make your own previews even. Make your own fake previews like Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino did. You know, do that. Damn, I wave my hands a lot. Part Greek, okay? Forgive me. Number 2, double feature it. You know, double features can make some great things. You know, if you don't want to go the single bill, just go with the double bill. Perhaps, let me switch these around. I think they go better in this order. They Live and RoboCop. So They Live is less violent, RoboCop's more violent, but they're both satires on commercialism. They're both in the 80s. You know, you could probably pair this with American Psycho if you really wanted to, but I feel like RoboCop is better for the sci-fi theme, to keep going with the sci-fi theme, and not as, you know, absurd. RoboCop is plenty of black comedy, so ideally you could do RoboCop and American Psycho if you really wanted to. But that's beside the point. Just do what double feature makes you feel right. Make it ironic even. You know, just do you. Number 3, marathon. Spielberg, Tarantino, Scorsese, whatever you want to do, just marathon if you want to. Marathon if the day gets boring, marathon if you have nothing else to do. Just marathon any film, or marathon like the Nightmare on Elm Street series. I haven't marathoned it quite yet, but you know, you gotta do these things sometimes. Once I did the Toy Story marathon for the podcast that I do. In case you don't know, I'll leave a link to the podcast below. Number 4, and this is more of an option, you know, you can search up obscure or not so obscure ads, like, you know, if you're from the UK, you'll probably know the old Right Now ad with the Wrigley's gum on the bus, you know. I know someone will know that. Someone, hopefully, out there will know that. Anyway, so some of you may know the Pearl and Dean bumper. If you're in Australia, you'll know the Val Morgan bumpers, whatever era you went to the cinema the most in. But at the same time, you could also do our feature presentation that Quentin Tarantino does, or you could do, you know, that sort of thing. You can make your own bumpers if you want to. You can find even more obscure bumpers and, you know, pre-show things like Let's All Go to the Lobby is perfect. Number 5, view it as a short film or a short subject or something, or a music video like they used to do on the 90s VHSs that you'd often see before the movie for some reason, you know. You can do, you know, you could do a Pixar short film before a Pixar movie easily. Like, you can do that on Disney Plus these days if you have it. But I'm talking about, what if you make your own short films too? What if you make short films that you'd be glad to put in front of whatever movie you're watching? I think that you should definitely try to put a short film before there, because it makes it feel a bit more like an event, which I'll definitely come back to that a little bit later, okay? Number 6. Uh-oh, it's Satan, run! All jokes aside, you know, cook your own snacks, make it inventive, make it themes to whatever film you're watching, you know, even if it's, you know, somewhat dark humor and whatever you're cooking, you know, you could make, if you're not vegetarian or vegan, you probably make steaks for a movie like The Silence of the Lambs, who knows? But that's just my twisted sense of humor talk, and you can do whatever you want, you can theme a party, and remember, if you're viewing this during coronavirus, which I'm recording this during the coronavirus pandemic, you can still, you can call friends if you want, you can still sort of virtually hang out with them, and this, I wanted to apply both in coronavirus times and also the other times where this is hopefully over. If you're viewing this in the future and it's over, good for you, I am jealous, and, you know, we just have the right amount of toilet paper, so yeah, you can even wing your own introductions, you know, just wing them, you know. I'm going to present to you a film that'll blow your mind. It is so badass, it'll redefine the term badass. Are you excited for this film? Good, because it doesn't exist. Now, I'm just using that as an example, but, you know, be the MC of the show if you really want to. If it's virtual or not, you know, do that. Be you. That's what really matters, and that's what I'm going to keep reiterating through this channel. Number 7. make the movie 7. But seriously, number 7, do the 1930s matinee style. You know what that is, right? There's a bunch of things, and I'm gonna break them down for you. So, let's say we've got the movie Pulp Fiction, one of my favorite movies, a movie retro enough that it just might work with the retro things, and Tarantino would love retro, whatever you want to do. So anyway, let me break it down. 7.1, if you're a performer of any sort, after coronavirus, you could get your friends together and do live performances, or during coronavirus, you could go and get a live thing from YouTube or whatever. You know what I mean, like a live set that they did at the time. Basically, just have a live act or two, and that's the first thing they really did in these 30s matinees. They really made it an event. People had to dress in bow ties and hats and things like that. They had to look fancy. They had to look, what's the UK slang? Lush. 7.2, throw in an animated short film. Believe it or not, the Goodfellas Blu-ray actually has like 4 shorts, 2 Looney Tunes, 2 Merry Melodies. That have to do with gangsters. You could do that with Goodfellas if you wanted to, really. But yeah, Goodfellas and Looney Tunes, I know, right? Crazy. Not to get ahead of myself there, but do a cartoon short film, Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry, maybe the Itchy and Scratchy Show if you're so inclined to splice one of those in there. 7.3. Live action comedies, 2-reelers, like the Three Stooges. Short films like that are about 22 minutes. People complained Olaf's Frozen Adventure was a bit long in front of Coco, so that might not be to your personal taste, but, people used to watch stuff like Three Stooges all the time, or, I'm pretty sure back in the day there'd also be serials like, Flash Gordon and that sort of thing, which inspired Star Wars. So people loved the entertainment of this day, but basically what I'm saying is, have a good laugh with the Three Stooges before your main presentation, and, it's gonna be good. That was 7.3, what's 7.4? Alright, newsreel. You can get a vintage newsreel, or you can just watch the 24-hour news channel if you have one of those, which basically everyone does, whether on cable or not or whatever, but, who wants to really see the news when they're going to an escapist film? I guess they sort of phased that out because of that, but then they had to keep up with the wars at the time, and studios would often get newsreels in and stuff, Even MASH had a newsreel once or twice just thrown in there, which is pretty great. You could do that if you want. And finally, 7.7 and the final subset of this thing, your feature presentation. Number 8 is an alternative option. Do the roadshow thing. Like, do the overture, do the intermission, do the exit music if you must. Compile your own stuff if the movie doesn't already have it. Like, Gone with the Wind, Lawrence of Arabia, Once Upon a Time in America, The Godfather Part 2, whatever you want to do with the extra long sort of films. I reckon the roadshow experience should come back. You can make your own program if you want to. Again, remember, you can do this showing with any of your films, Because of isolation, obviously, you're going to have to, like, email things to friends or put things on social media. But, yeah, it depends what you want to do. I'm not your boss. And finally, number 9, have a friend present through phone call, have a friend present through Zoom, Skype, however you want to do it. Make sure you have the same movie, make sure you have it synced up, make sure they have access to the movie via rental or Netflix or streaming or DVD, Blu-ray, whatever you want. Just have it synced up, talk on the phone with each other. Maybe, but it depends if you just want to discuss it afterward or analyze films or, do what I do sometimes. I think I've tried to collaborate on Anchor once or twice, but it hasn't been successful thus far. However, watch this space. I'm going to give a shout out to my podcast partners, Real Sharks Podcast. There are many topics to cover, many films to analyze, and so little time. I cut back the podcasts to weekly, but, I'm going to do the videos. I've been promising to do the videos for a while. And thank you so much. I really appreciate everybody here. Now go out, inspire, create, electrify, because we need your voice. Because you can change things for the better.